Hi guys, so if you watched our last video, you know that we've been working on lots of projects here around Varuna, and one of them was replacing our halyard. So in this video we're going to give you an in-depth look about how we did our halyard, including learning to do an eye splice and some whipping. The hardest part for us was learning how to do an eye splice in double braided line. So if you haven't spliced before, I highly recommend that you get a piece of line that's similar to the one you're going to splice and practice on that one first. So this is our current halyard. It's old and worn and we're going to replace it. We have some new line over here. It is 7/16 line sta-set. About 106 feet of it to replace this. So here we have, this is our end of our old halyard and our new one. So we're going to sew these two ends together so that we can feed the new one up along with this one without actually climbing up on the mast and feeding it through ourselves. We have a new tool now. This is a sailor's palm. Been working all with new line where it is really nice and easy to just stick the needle in and out. But this old line, I cannot get the needle through. It's like putting a needle through a rock. The sailor's palm to go on the end of the needle and help you push it through. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay. See, I'm just gonna sew this line through here. Go to the other side here.
Okay, so we're gonna put up the new halyard now. So here's the this is the 106 feet of rope or whatever that we got yesterday. And last night Hillary finished up. She kind of whipped these two ends together. So all we're going to do here is pull down the halyard on one side, hopefully, and that should, fingers crossed, all feed through. So we're going to go do that now.
So you may be wondering what a halyard is. The halyard is the rope or line that is used to raise and lower a sail. In this case, we are replacing our main halyard. Take this tape off we put to smooth down all the ends. We sewed the two lines together. Should just be able to cut these stitches out. So then we move on to the hard part, which is making a splice in the end of the line for the shackle to go through, and which attaches to the top of the sail to raise the sail up here. So first thing we did is tied a knot about 6-8 feet or so back so the cord doesn't go all the way up and get messed up. Alright, so things we have today are our line, obviously. We have some fids. These are Selma fids. A sailor's palm, scissors, a lighter, and some masking tape. And also a Sharpie. What we're going to do, measure one fid length here. We're going to mark it. This is the size loop that we want on the end. So once we have our A and B, straighten it out. At point B here, we're going to kind of push together the rope so it bunches up like that to kind of open up the cover. At point B, open up the strands there. We're going to pull the core out. There we go. And then next, I'm going to take the core and we're going to pull it out of the cover. And as you can see, I'm following along with YouTube. I'm definitely not an expert on this. This is my second time splicing, so hopefully it goes well. So next what we're going to do, we are going to actually take this cover and we're going to open up the core and pull the cover through the core from point C to D on here. See, it just kind of, you bunch it up, it just loosens up. So this is the cover through the core of the rope here. And we're gonna unfray the cover a bit there, and then we're just gonna taper it down. Once we've tapered that, we're gonna pull the cover back just so it disappears inside the core there. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna take this core and we're gonna put it back inside the cover. Right where that comes up, this is gonna go back into the cover. And basically we're gonna take this core and feed it all the way back inside the cover. This is the point where we pulled it out, and then we're gonna go about maybe 8 inches or so, 6-8 inches past where we pulled the core out of the cover. You can get a bit more cover and slack all bunched together if you pull all that down tight. I think it'll help pull over the fid, give it lots so it can bunch up and have a lot of slack there. It does get kind of tight in this area. Man, I cannot move this at all. I don't know what the trick is to this. We are having a lot of trouble trying to pull the core back through the cover, especially where the core was doubled up. We went through a couple different kinds of fids. First I started with the Selma fids. We also tried the Samson fids, and neither of those seemed to work for us. Ty then did some research and found a tool called the splicing wand, which was our saving grace.
So we're using the splicing wand.
Splicing wand.
So right about here.
Okay.
So it'll be like our point A.
Okay.
Make our eye, which we don't need to be very big. So this will be our point B.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we pulled the core out at our B mark. It's magical.
I hope so.
We do hope so.
It's like a magic wand, but better. With this method, you do the hard part of pulling the extra core through the cover first. To start, you put the wand through the cover in the section of the rope where the cores will double up. The wand gives you a lot more leverage and handholds than the fids do.
It's done.
It's done.
How easy that was.
That was
Well,
easy.
Now we just get, this is the easy part.
Yeah, this,
So now we just go all the way down, just work it down.
all the way down. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so Hillary took it out on the bottom side of our mark down here. We released the splicing one, which reveals this inner snare. So this is slightly different than the fid method. Okay, so with the core, take about half and then just wedge, just put them through there. Now I want to release this a bit. I'm going to pull this back up so it pulls it snug. Okay. Then just hold that. I'm going to work this back up here. And then this should just push right over it. Just going to work it over it. Like that. Ready? And then we'll just pull this, work this through.
Once the core is hooked in the snare, it's quite easy to massage and work the cover over it and pull through the section of core. There we go.
Yay.
Yay. Alright, so we got our core out. Nice little loop here.
To get the cover back into here and then pull the rest of the core through, right? And then we'll basically end up with an eye.
Yep.
I'm going to taper some of this cover. So I'm going to take all these strands out. So now we're going to pull the cover through, right?
Yeah.
This slides right through. Okay, so we've gone through the length here. We've attached the cover to the snare, and then we're just going to pull the cover back through the core here. Then we're just going to work this out. Get that core in there. You'll see it disappear in there. All the way up inside there, like that, and we've kind of got our eye.
Kind of.
Bigger than what we wanted, but once
bit.
we pull this through, it'll pull the cover back over. It'll even that out. So remember to put your shackle before you run this.
Before you put the core back in the cover.
Yeah. So make sure you put your shackle on.
Do not forget that.
Well, we thought it was a.
We thought we could.
We thought we could attach the shackle. Yeah. We weren't
it only
thinking.
has a pin on one side.
Yeah. So what we did was we took our our knot from the beginning here with the loop. We're just going to put this over something solid, so I'm putting it over this our winch here. And then we're going to milk all this loose cover all the way down until that eye disappears. Our eye is going to be this cover here. So that's what we're going for, that's what we had measured. So we just got to milk all that cover into there. Blowing a gale out here today.
It is. Alright, so as you can see here, this is our finished splice. It's not perfect, we had a little bit of excess that we couldn't get back inside there, but got it pretty much all back in. But we got our eye in there. I put two whippings on there to make it nice and secure. And now we just have to put our reef points in and we'll be done.
Reefing means reducing the amount of sail area. In high winds and heavy weather, you reef to make the boat easier to handle and more stable so it's not overpowered by the strong wind. This also helps avoid damage or putting too much stress on the sails and rigging. Reefing points are fixed points where the sail can be lowered and secured at both the clew and tack, which are the quanters along the bottom of the sail. Varuna has 3 reef points in her mainsail. We raised the sail to measure where each of these points would be on the halyard when the sail was raised in the correct position. Once our points were measured, I put some whips in to mark each one. A whip is a smaller piece of line wrapped around a larger piece of line, usually at the end to stop it from fraying, but in our case I was using them as markers. So, got some whipping line, scissors, lighter, and a needle. That should be all I need. So we marked 3 lines, that's going to be our 3rd reefing point. So I'm going to do 3 separate little whips around there to mark the 3rd one. First, you make a small loop with the whipping line and lay it down on the line you're adding the whip to. Then you take the long end of the loop and start to make tight wraps around the line. When you have the desired amount of wraps, take the long end and thread it through the loop that you started with, laying on the line. Pull on the short end of the loop and the long end of line to pull it tight. This ties a knot under the wraps and is a basic whip. I left myself plenty of whipping line to add some stitches to make sure the whip couldn't slide at all. First, thread the long end of the whipping line through a needle and make a stitch directly through the middle of the line. Be careful to leave a little tail of rope hanging out of your first stitch. Then, string the whipping line down across the wraps and sew another stitch directly through the line. Turn your line 90 degrees and repeat these stitches on each side that you have 4 stitches total. I worked on our 3rd reef point first, so I repeated this until I had 3 whips on our halyard. Alright, so now that we have our 3 on there, I just need to trim these ends down a bit and melt them down. We got our 3rd reef in, and just gotta do the 2nd and 1st. It's a little windy out here, so the lighter isn't working so well. Alright, so our ends are all cut off and melted down. We got our 3rd reef in.
Alright. It's nice. There's like a mess on the deck. And then there's some random tie up here.
Keeping our halyard.
Oh wait, here's Hillary. Hi.
From going all the way up the mast and bye-bye.
That's what it's doing? That's good? So it's just holding a halyard.
Holding halyard.
So you've been doing what up here?
So putting in some reefing points on our halyard so we know where to stop.
So what we got?
So this is our first reef here.
Beauty.
So when it's about right here, that's when we'll be able to hook the thing on the reefing point and have our first reef.
Good.
And then down a little bit more. Here's our 2nd reef.
Nice. So 2 means 2 reefs.
2 means 2
2nd reef, whatever. Yeah.
And then down here, there's our 3rd reef.
Oh, beauty.
Yeah.
Looks really nice.
we're done.
Let's test it. We should go out and put our third reef in today.
and
It's
float
blowing.
down river.
It's blowing one knot. Looks
so,
good.
let's see. Now we just have to pull the halyard back down.
Alright, bring it down.
Bring her down.
Nice and slow.
And there we go. We got our halyard back.
Nicely done, Hill.
So that's how we did our halyard. It was a pretty simple project other than the many days and days we struggled trying to splice, but once we got that figured out, it was pretty easy. So thanks very much for following along and watching, and we'll see you next time. Thank you to all of our patrons. You too can join us as we sail with a purpose. Click the Patreon logo to learn more. If you enjoyed our video, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And for our latest updates, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.